Wow, it's beautiful. But what is it? Hello there. This fellow you're looking at here is named Genghis Khan 44. That's me! Pleasure to make your acquaintance. And my preview here on YouTube is probably not going to be very long. Hopefully not. But I thought I would kill two birds with one stone today, and I thought I'd show you two things that I've made. The first is this church, which is the thing that I began showing you with, the brick-roofed thing, which I'll show you. It's something I've been making in my spare time, and I plan to improve it over the future, but that's beside the point. I figure I'll show you it, but I'll also show you something which I've updated due to a request from a fan. In case you didn't notice, I'm holding something that doesn't look like any implement from vanilla Minecraft. You know why? Because it's a retextured sword. That's why. The power of Christ compels thee. Anyway, that's part of the other thing that I'm going to be showing as well. I'm going to be showing a texture pack I've created. That I had created, that I've updated into a full-blown resource pack. And you may be wondering what that up there is for, that TNT. I'll get to that later. For now, let's go into the church. And if my friend... You may notice there's a lot of fog around. Well, that's because I'm running this game on a toaster. So you must forgive me if the frame rate drops out now and again. Alright. Like it is now. Anyway, let's see if I can... Okay, good. Okay, so this is the Church of the Sun. I decided to name it the Church of the Begotten Son, a Catholic church in communion with Rome. It's not necessarily a Roman Catholic church, and you'll see why when we go inside. Now, outwardly, there may not look like much difference, except for some of the things in my toolbar, which I'll explain directly. Alright, some of these things are pretty obvious to you, like this. Again, I'll get to that later. But some of these things, actually most of them, might not look familiar to you, and you might wonder what they are. Alright, well, I'll begin with the first two things that aren't particularly recognizable at first. This thing, the chalice. It is a retextured flower pot. Gotta love that lag. This is a host. This is a cookie that has been retextured. Of course, you can always easily reskin it to bread if you like. This is a wooden cross. You can use that to beat the heretics. Or, you know, whatever you like. It's a retextured wooden sword. A nice little thing to bring in procession or something like that. For like a crucifer or whatever, you know, cross-bearer. This thing should be pretty easy to guess. It's a redstone torch that I retextured to be a cross. You'll see that inside. Now actually, this thing is actually the icon for this door here. This is a retextured iron gate, which I've made into an ornate gold textured gate. Now you'll probably notice that there's some weird lines poking out. That's just kind of how it works, unfortunately. Okay, is this going to show up? Like I say. Okay, this thing is called a prosphora. I'll get more into what that's used for inside. You'll see it in there. Don't worry. It's a retextured cake, though. I can tell you that much. And finally, this item here, this is a retextured, chiseled quartz block. I use it for the altars on this, because a church just isn't quite much of a church without an altar, you know? Or at least the Catholic Church isn't. I can't speak for Baptists and what have you, but don't worry, I've got things for them too. Anyway, let's head on in, admire the roses, admire the non-stained glass window. Oh, I wish you could have stained glass. Oh well, let's head in. Like I say, I'm filming this on a toaster, so if it lags out now and again, please forgive me. Oh my sweet. This is tremendously terrible. Okay. Okay, we are in. Now. Yes, that's the lighting array up there. Those are retextured redstone lamps with orthodox crosses on them. They are currently on. You'll know when they're off. The nice little seats. These are trapdoors. And over on either side of me are bell towers. But if I activate the towers that are there, I'm just going to get a massive lag spike, and I really don't want to do that. So, you know what? Instead, I'm just going to proceed on. But I will tell you that... What was that? I don't know. Anyway, those bell towers back there, when you flip the when you push the button on them, there's a stone button there. When you push the button, it plays a note block, essentially. Before I decided to revamp my texture pack, I decided I'm just gonna have note block tones. Anyway, so here's the church, if this toaster will record properly. Come on, up, 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 up. Oh, little too far. That's my primitive redstone there. And here's the seating of it. Right into the altar, yeah. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Alright. And the red carpet going down. Thank you, Jeb, for allowing us to have carpets. I appreciate it. And actually, before I had retextured it, the altar actually had carpet covering it as kind of the altar cloth. But I'll get to that later. You might notice these little candles around with the pictures above them. In Catholic churches, there's a tendency to... Okay, I'm going to change that quickly because that's going to kill my frame rate. There's a tendency in Catholic churches to have devotions to particular saints. Now, I forget exactly what these icons were supposed to be of. There's another one at the other end of the church. But you could make it to be Mary, you could make it to be Elijah, or I think that's what this one was. And you could put votive candles here. Now, those candles are retextured torches, which is put onto stone blocks. You could just have them there burning, so as the Apocalypse says, the prayers of the saints rise like incense before the Lord. And this is the confessional area. Very simple. Like I say, my redstone skill ain't great. The penitent goes in one area, the confessor goes in the other area. I don't have anyone else to demonstrate this with, but... oh my goodness. Notice the gravel. So when the penitent, or the confessor, steps on a pressure plate, he activates it, turns the light on, as you can see. Toaster jokes are getting so old. And the gravel goes up so no one else can go in. And no one can see you from behind that wall, so your safety and privacy are protected. And the lights blaze on through the night. Another window, another confessional. I don't need to show you that again. I'll get to the altar quickly, but first I'd like to show you the other arm of this cross. Beg pardon, this beg pardon for my toaster here. There's the other icon. Oh, man. This, in case you can't guess, is the retextured door. The wooden door. It still looks pretty much like a door, but it's not quite. Oh, there's a problem with this church. There are some dark spots which allow bats to foment. You know what? I'm gonna do something there. Maybe that will help things. At very least, I won't be able to hear the rain if it comes on. Not that that should be a problem. Anyway, ignoring the bat, this area is a Eucharistic Adoration Chapel. More votive candles over there. Seats here for the onlookers to sit. Oh, didn't mean to have that there. And I think it should be pretty easy to guess what that is. That is a retextured item frame. That's right. But it's retextured to look more golden so it holds this host. Because, well, that's one thing Catholics do. Since we believe that that's Jesus up there in the host in real life, not here obviously, but since we believe the host is Jesus, we decide to give him the best clothing we possibly can, our gold, and put him up so that we can see him, and so that we can look on him, and so that, as some people say, we can get our suntan, if you will. You know, Son of God, suntan, that sort of. Anyway. So yeah, you can sit here adoring the Blessed Sacrament all the hours of the day if you like. Just sit there and idle, you know, whatever. It's very nice, though, no? That's a painting, of course. I included some so that you can have crucifixes behind every altar. I'll explain that in a bit. Well, hey, since my toaster isn't really recording anyway, may as well. The reason we have crucifixes behind the altar actually goes back to the days before Vatican II. Now, if you've never heard of Vatican II, Vatican II is the Second Vatican Council, where a lot of liturgical reforms were made, so that churches no longer had the altars to the front, but instead you had the altar facing the people, and the priest would face the people and offer the sacrifice like so. Oh, that brings me to this thing. You may wonder, what on earth is that ugly lump there? Well, that is a prosphora. I will explain that too. Alright, so in the Eastern Catholic churches and the Eastern Orthodox churches, they have these things called prosphora. See? A prosphora is a loaf that contains only flour and water, maybe a little yeast, so it can rise. No salt or anything else, though. Yeah, yeast. And the priest at the Eastern Orthodox liturgies cuts them up, mixes them with the wine, and distributes communion that way, rather than the Western way, which is to take the host, the little round wafer thing, and to distribute that as is and the wine separately. Yeah. So that's what a prosphora is. Like I say, it's a retextured cake in this case. And this, of course, is the retextured altar quartz. And this, for Protestant or less stone-related brethren, these are retextured crafting tables. Now, you may wonder how I put those up there. Real simple. Just put glass blocks around the crafting table and try and place the thing that you'd like to put on the crafting table against the glass blocks, and it'll go on the crafting table. Anyway, this is the retextured chest. This is what we call a tabernacle. Oh, I should have told you about that, because I already looked at this, didn't I? But the tabernacle, in Israelite times, was the place where the presence of the Lord was. So the big cloud, the big pillar of cloud and the big pillar of fire during the night would rest over what they called the mercy seat, which was this big slab that covered the Ark of the Covenant, and the Lord would rest there in this pillar of fire on the mercy seat. The tabernacle for the modern Catholic is the place where the Lord resides, not in a pillar of fire and a pillar of cloud, but in bread and wine, or rather his body and blood. If the theology is correct, which I believe it is, don't know how I got that. As for the cross, well, it reminds us very simply of the sacrifice he made for us. He died for our sins so that whether we are awake or asleep, we might be with him. Awake or asleep being St. Paul's words for alive or dead. Oh, now before I go into the sacristy, this room back here, maybe I better look at the rest of the altar. My apologies. Alright, so a couple of candelabra made out of ender eye portals and cobblestone. This is where the choir would sit. If I had a choir, I'm thinking about putting a jukebox in here. You'll see why later. My apologies. Alright. This is the ambo, or the lectern. This is where the readings are read, in case you didn't notice. And also, in case you didn't notice, I retextured... Okay, weather clear. I retextured the enchantment table. Not all of it, so it doesn't have any red crosses or anything on it. The book doesn't, but yeah. This is the lectern, where the gospel is read, and where the missal is read. Oh, crud. I forgot to install a priest's chair. There is usually a chair for the priest and a chair for the bishop, but that's another story. I'm not getting into that. Off over here is another retextured chest. This is our holy oils trunk. It contains what we call chrism. Chrism is what is used to confirm people in the Catholic Church and the Orthodox churches, it goes back to the Bible, of course, but it's been used pretty much forever. And there is the holy water as well. Splash holy water, yes, which gives you fervor, which is what we baptize with. Speaking of which, this is the baptismal pool. Now, I'll tell you, wiring all of this redstone underneath this font was just painful. But it was worth it, don't you think? I think it was. That's the baptismal pool there. That concludes the altar, and now we can go into the sacristy. Provided my toaster doesn't break, of course. Alright, so in Roman churches, you will have these sinks, but these sinks aren't like other sinks because they don't lead to the sewer system. Rather, they usually lead to a grave hole in the ground. You know why? Well, when we wash the implements, you know, the chalice and the paten, the golden dish and the golden cup, they still contain Christ's body and blood on it. And so, as a result, we don't want it to, you know, get mixed with other people's, you know, feces and urine and all that. It would be disrespectful to him. So instead, you may think this a tad crazy, but, well, we think he appreciates it. We have it drained into the ground so it returns to the earth, because it's far better that it be buried in the earth than that it, and soak into the ground, than that it be mixed with urine and all the rest of that. That'd be nasty. So we prefer it to go into the ground. I mean, maybe not the wisest idea, but a little holy ground. Anyway, alright, and this primitive looking thing, alright, that's the single chest for those of you who like churches that aren't doubly wide and can't have double doors. I've made more than a few of those. So I provided this chest for a tabernacle, or a wardrobe. I haven't got any robes in here though, so yeah. And this here, take a guess, is the fridge, or the icebox, I suppose. This is where the priests in a modern church will keep the wine. I've also stored the hosts here as well. Most priests will keep them in a cupboard though, but the wine definitely needs to stay there so it, you know, doesn't spoil. Although it's already pretty well canned anyway. Now before I go into the wiring, just briefly, I'll show you the bell tower. The bell tower that does work, and I'll also show you another thing that I changed about this. Alright, that's it. I'm getting out the poison. This may not seem very Christian, but I don't care. There. Always bring poison into darkly lit areas. Very useful. Anyway, climb up. It's not much of a bell tower. Basically, it's redstone torches stacked on top of each other to provide the wiring. Oh, for crying out loud. And a golden, if you like, bell at the top here. Not much. Why did I put these torches up if I have no note blocks? Probably because I planned to put note blocks in the first place, but I never did. Oh, come on. Maybe I should just ignore... Screw it. Nah, there. Good. Alright. Now let me show you this thing which I have done with the resource packs. Please forgive me for the toaster. Alright. Now, this disc may look familiar to you. 13. I actually did use this one to create bells in vanilla, but let's hear it now. Pardon, that's my toaster. I think you get the idea. I've changed it up so it actually sounds like a bugger. So it sounds like an actual bell tower rather than just weird noises in the night. And I've done that, and I haven't made bells for each of the discs, but I have made different tracks for each of the discs. From Eastern music, Eastern Orthodox that is, to Latin music, to English songs as well. No gospel, but I'm sure you can replace it. Just briefly down into the wiring, just to show you the primitive work I've done. I think you can tell the work that I did above ground, but this is the work below. One of these around here leads to the baptismal font. I'm not going to worry about it. Oh, I didn't know that it did that for the redstone repeaters. Well, I guess your redstone repeaters will look a little different too. Alright. Actually, forget this. I'm out of here. It's not worth it. It's not that interesting. The switches control basically the lights for all of the place. There's two. There's floor lights, and there are ceiling lights. You'll see the difference in a sec. This area is lit with candles, but this area is not. And you can see, because of the fact that these lights have turned very dark all of a sudden, compared with those up there. And it's now become like a cave. So yeah, that's the lighting I put into it. And now you can see how this operates like a redstone lamp. So that's the Church of the Sun, for all intents and purposes. Feel free to light a votive candle sometime. Love it if you downloaded it. If I put a download up, that is. Or if you just look at it and like it. Now, you may have been wondering earlier why I had the TNT up here. Well, I'll tell you, Catholics are not just dry, boring, liturgical folks. I mean, I am rather dry, boring, and liturgical, but there's plenty of us who aren't. And some of us really like to celebrate, and some of us like to celebrate with explosions, explosive festivals. And here's my way to celebrate, with TNT. Now, this is kind of my Easter egg, so... Oh. Can't really have an explosive festival with the weather being rainy. So let's clear that up quickly. All right. Oh, just please forgive my toaster. All right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh. Stupid toaster. All right. 3, 2, 1. And and that pretty much, for all intents and purposes, concludes my video. A quick zoom over of the roof, and I think we'll be done here. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Like if you liked it. You don't need to subscribe. I'm not trying to start a channel here. I just thought I'd debut this and show you off some of my work, because I enjoyed making it, and I enjoy being in this little building that I created. And I thought you'd enjoy seeing it. And if some of you are, like, liturgically minded, if you like making churches, you might enjoy my Christcraft texture pack, and I hope you download it if you do like it, because I will be putting it up for download, if not this map. Thank you very much. Have a good day. God love you, and may He shine in your hearts with such great brilliance that it lights the world on fire. Good day.